I wonder if somebody could share, a success story that you think, where you tried something innovative, even if it didn't work, and sort of what were the lessons that you learned from that in government.
Well, I mean, I'll share an internal military success story, which is, and many of you have probably read about this success story, but when operations in Iraq and Afghanistan started, it was very clear to military leadership that men in uniform could not do everything they needed in terms of intelligence gathering, so-called winning hearts and minds, interacting with local populations in Iraq and Afghanistan because of local cultural norms, barriers between men and women, and from everything from really, sort of true humanitarian assistance to, harsh interrogations. And so it was sort of the idea of very young officers who, and I know these folks, they're extremely progressive folks, who suggested the radical idea of taking women Marines, and women soldiers, and having them do this interfacing with local tribal elders and women, and interacting with women in the villages and within their homes, talking to children. And it's a much larger conversation, but in the end, these female engagement teams have been a huge success in the operations in Afghanistan in particular, and NATO eventually developed its own teams. And it was extraordinary because women in the military were exposed to, in terms of their own career progression, exposure to combat and to prestigious assignments that they had never before been able to engage in. And so it was, extraordinary for the entire military. But what is the Marine Corps doing now? It's sort of scaling back these assignments, and it's not making them permanent. So you see sort of a good idea being tested out. And in fact, when it was explored, these junior officers were kind of cut down every step of the way by sort of middle management, senior officers who thought, oh no, this is way too radical, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And of course it worked. Women were able to do the job better than men. And so, and we can learn from that lesson. And I don't mean that sort of flippantly. Men literally were not allowed into these communities at all. And in fact, village elders who were men, obviously, were interacting with these women Marines much more effectively. They trusted them more, for better or worse, they trusted them more.